wrote in to say Iris is absolutely right about everything, especially new designers. They cannot sew, they cannot pattern draft. It's like being a builder and not knowing how to mix mortar and lay bricks.
Engine is at operating temperature.
Design college nearly, and they were just dismissive, saying it wasn't needed today. The lecturer herself had never worked in the industry. Well done, Iris. I hope you go on to influence them for many years to come. A slightly different point of view on Iris comes from Kate Corwin, who's written it to say, so Iris, whoever she is, never heard of her, thinks that she's helping older women to dress well. Well, what she's actually doing is perpetuating a terrible attitude towards it. Don't be noticeable, don't look sexy, dress down and dowdy. Dear Iris, I'm 60 and my white hair is down to my hips. I wear lycra at the gym and on my bike, even though I'm fat and wobbly. I live in jeans and I swim whenever I darn well please in swimsuits that I'm sure you would disapprove of. If you don't like it, don't look. He opposed this government's welfare reform bill, and now political polls place him on the cusp of victory. And yet a poll out earlier this week shows that 76% of the general public believe his party is less electable than it was during the general election. Now he's got female voters in his sights with a separate Women's Manifesto. He is, of course, Jeremy Corbyn. One of the key policies is a move towards a system of free universal childcare. The Labour leadership frontrunner told me why he thinks this country desperately needs this policy.
Childcare arrangements vary greatly between families and people, but we have a situation where the rather expensive nurseries that exist are either dominated by those that can afford to go there or those that get free places, many in between just don't get them at all.
So how would you pay for that?
Well, you have to pay for it through general taxation, of course. You would have a preschool free childcare service rather than the charging stroke free depending on your income level, because entirely would be universal to my view. The reason I say that is I think early years socialisation of children is very, very important. It's good for the children, it's good for the family. It's the success for the slightly older children of Shore Staff and children's centres has been amazing. It brings together families of all backgrounds and all outlooks. I think it's very good. The problem is that schools then set up their own preschool arrangements, which then tends to undermine the idea of community nurseries. So there is an issue.
I understand the case with development, but you think we can afford this as a country?
Can we afford not to? Because look at it another way. Our children need the best start. I don't think we're doing enough at two ends in education. One is preschool, the other is immediate post-school education. Increasingly we're charging. We're charging obviously for university but increasingly post-18 many colleges also I think they're charging in certain courses and areas. We need a better educated community.
Running down this list then of what you would do to help women, you also talk about forcing all companies, not just those with more than 250 employees, to publish mandatory equal pay orders. But I wonder, the government have just announced that companies bigger than 250 will have to do this. You're now saying that you would make all companies do this. I understand the difference, but on the ground, how would that actually close the gender pay gap? Because you still have to go and negotiate with the boss.
You still have to negotiate, but if you have a pay audit of everyone working in a smallish company, you might find a pattern that all the middle management positions are filled by men. Therefore, there are no women in it. Therefore, there is at one level no gender pay gap. In reality, there's probably a massive gender pay gap because women working at a slightly lower level in the hierarchy are not getting promotion. So I think we're also looking at promotion opportunities, training opportunities, and development opportunities. We do have still a big gender pay gap.
You also mentioned everyday sexism. You talk about Labour under you would try to figure out how to challenge these root causes, which is a very difficult thing to try and do from the perch of government or even from shadow government. But beyond making sexual health courses mandatory, how will you actually do this? Because you talk about implementing harassment laws and making it that it's a safe place for women to walk around and not live in fear.
It's about a cultural change. It's about attitudes as much as anything else.
But if you look to the Labour Party, what about the culture of that? Why has the Labour Party, with all of these ideals, never ever elected a woman as its leader?
Beckett, the Labour Party did promote the Equal Opportunities Act and very many other very progressive bits of legislation that we've got. I'm sure it'll happen Monday. I don't know. It might even happen this time. There's 4 of us in this election at the present time.
There is. It's the best possible chance we've ever seen. Who would get your vote out of the other 2 female candidates there, Liz Kendall and Yvette Cooper?
Well, Liz Kendall and I politically are a long way apart.
So
and we both admit that. It's fine. We get on personally extremely well, but both admit that politically we're not very good
so it would
together.
Be Yvette Cooper?
But we'll see what happens. But it's essentially a political choice in an election, isn't it?
There's a new poll out today that shows 3 out of 4 people, 76%, think Labour is less electable than it was at the general election, and that a lurch to the left won't save it. Are you not concerned that your approach, if you like, is destroying Labour's chances?
No, I'm not convinced about that at all. This campaign has now been going on for since early June, so we're talking 2 months. There have been an unprecedented number of Labour Party members and supporters and members of the general public coming to the hustings discussions and debates. Lots of young people becoming involved, often for the first time, in politics because they do think that there needs to be a challenge to the cross-party agreement that was around on variations of austerity in the general election. And young people are excited by this. Isn't that a good thing?
The excitement, of course, you can't say it's anything but a good thing, but aren't you a bit worried in your heart of hearts, say you do win this leadership race, that you won't be able to deliver the goods? I mean, people describe you, Frank Field describes you as a deficit denier, and you might be in danger, might you not, of becoming a bit of a Nick Clegg figure. Who lots of young people really put their vested interests in. They wanted him in power because of what he said about Jewish fees, and then he went back on it. Are you not worried that you're saying all these wonderful things while you're not in power and you won't be able to deliver?
This is a serious campaign, and we put forward serious economic strategies, serious social strategies, housing and all other things. This isn't something that is grown out of the ether and hot air. I believe very strongly that the role of the party and of government is to unite people. I do think we need to sort of develop a narrative that we live in a society where, sadly, we seem to tolerate the most grotesque levels of inequality, the most grotesque levels of homelessness and rough sleeping, and somehow or other say it's all right, and then promote a welfare reform bill which will make the situation dramatically worse, and a budget which actually removes child benefit from the larger families. That seems to me grossly unfair.
So are you preparing for leadership right now? How are you doing that?
Well, look, we've got now a while to go because we don't even know who the electorate are finally going to be, because people can still join the party and can still register.
And there is the concern some naughty people are joining to vote you in because they want to destroy the Labour Party. So naughty
people shouldn't join. They should only join and register supporters if they're genuine supporters and become genuine members of the party, but we'll see what happens.
I do also have to ask, because some of our listeners are also Mumsnet users, there was a discussion that may have caught your attention the other day about you being quite sexy on Mumsnet forum. Did you see that?
This is the most embarrassing thing I've ever heard.
I have to ask what the listeners want to know. How do you react to that? We talked about your family, but just for you personally.
Oh, I had a bit of a chuckle about it and actually a bit embarrassed, to be quite honest.
Was a slightly blushing Jeremy Corbyn. And next Wednesday, I'll be speaking to his rival, Andy Burnham. Still to come on the programme, should MPs be allowed to job share? And how social media is changing our levels of boredom with our clothes. I also just want to remind you that you can enjoy Woman's Hour any hour of the day. If you can't join us live at 10 a.m. during the week, just subscribe to the daily podcast for free via the Woman's Hour website. And we have an email about this matter because we do like to tell you how to subscribe. And Debs Butler has written in saying, hello, every day on the programme you promote the podcast, often with the preface, we know you're getting sick of us talking about it. Well, I'm writing to say that the podcast has saved my sanity whilst on maternity leave. I can never listen live due to being busy with my daughter, but once I put her to bed, I make a cup of tea and settle down to listen to the day's show, although I'm often a few days behind. That's okay, Debs. You've given me something to talk about with my husband and other mothers about, which makes a pleasant change to only ever talk about our children. Keep promoting